Coding with generative AI assistant, that's Amazon Q, right? Coding with Amazon Q developer. My name is Shankar Ganesh. People call me Shankar. I have been a technical trainer working from AWS Sydney region. Before joining AWS, I was a full stack developer myself, building UI using React.js and Vue.js, and building the backend APIs using a PHP framework called Laravel. I mean, most of you might have heard of it, right? Are we all ready? Shall we start? Some acknowledgement would be good. Yes, thank you very much. Perfect. So what are we going to learn today? Today we'll be looking into the Amazon Q family for generative AI technologies. We will look into Amazon Q developer specifically. We will look into the functionalities and capabilities of Amazon Q developer. We'll also explore the benefits and use cases of where you can use Amazon Q. We'll also see how we can gain experience with Amazon Q developer in the VS Code IDE. We will also see how you can configure it, right? More than just the slides, here is where this entire session is focused heavily on demo, right? So because we all have a set of folks who are interested in developer, right? So developer, I would say, entire crowd is coming from the developer family. So we'll have a lot of demos. We'll have 3 different demos. The first one will set up Amazon Q, how to set up Amazon Q for developer on the terminal and on the console and on the CLI. We'll also see how you can set it up for working with your IDE, that's your VS Code IDE. Then we will look into how you can do code transformations using Amazon Q. Then we will also see how you can generate and implement new code recommendations with Amazon Q. Again, Amazon Q for developers for migrating your legacy applications, Amazon Q developer for making sure that you work or you get better coding recommendations when you are building your applications, right? So we will start off with an interactive GenAI assistant, that is Amazon Q. We will first of all look into the Amazon Q family of different services which are tailored for business needs and integrate with different data sources, right? It's a GenAI powered assistant where you can see Amazon Q practically in Amazon Q for Business for building your business application. Specifically, you have Amazon Q for Developer, that's specifically for your development activities. Then you have Amazon Q in QuickSight. QuickSight is a BI tool, and Amazon Q is integrated on QuickSight directly so that you just have your natural language queries and it will automatically change or plot graphs for you. Then we have Amazon Q in Connect and also Amazon Q in Supply Chain. Right? This is Amazon Q for Business, right? Where you can basically make use of the GenAI assistant to do some insight extraction, to basically do content creation and summarization for your different business use cases, tailored for business users, okay? So it's more of a no-code or a low-code platform, I would say, right? Then you have Amazon Q for Developer. So if you are, I think most of you are here coming from the developer community. So it helps you give coding suggestions for all your different use cases. The good thing about Amazon Q for Developer is it can understand the entire IDE context, and it can start giving you recommendations based on your coding style, based on how you are writing. So let's say you're following a factory pattern, or let's say you're following a repository pattern, whatever architecture you are basically following in your project, it will start understanding the context by considering the IDE itself as the context and start giving you coding recommendations based on that. Apart from Q Developer, we have the Q in QuickSight. Q in QuickSight, specifically if you want to work with a BI tool, that's QuickSight, you can directly add your queries in English language, and then it'll plot you different data on graphs, right? You also have Amazon Q in Connect and Amazon Q in Supply Chain, which will help you benefit from the GenAI, which is basically already created for you. You're just going to make use of that in your real life use cases. Let's see into Amazon Q Developer, right? So what is it? It's a coding companion which can give you better recommendations based on your code, but based on your project which you're creating, available across multiple channels, and provides contextual and actionable answers. So you can basically see that it will generate code based on all the different context based on your project. It will understand the project context and start generating code. It can also do security vulnerability detection, which means I will show you in a moment that we will have some vulnerable code snippet and then we will let Amazon Q basically understand what's the security posture of the code, and it will basically scan the entire project, scan the entire files, all the different files in the project, and also let us know about if there is any CVE in our code. It'll also scan the dependencies which are installed in the project, because it's going to take the context of the entire IDE and then give us recommendations based on that. Right? We can also make use of Amazon Q for migrating our legacy applications into newer platforms. So you don't have to spend time doing all the mundane work. You can just have I think there are 4 different commands which you can use, which are new, which we will see in a moment. Right? You can see that Amazon Q Developer also has a chat interface inside the IDE, which can leverage the data from the AWS documentation. So you have some AWS specific question when you're creating your infrastructure or when you're creating an architecture. You want to know what might be the pricing plan of the entire architecture before you implement it. You might want to know the limits and the quotas. For all of that, you can use the chat interface. We will show that in a moment. You can accelerate development and also enhance security, basically focusing more on your business logic instead of focusing on in creating the underlying infrastructure needed to run it, right? So Amazon Q will help you and assist you to bring up all the infrastructure as code, especially if you want code in CloudFormation, in CDK, in SAM CLI, in Terraform. You can basically make use of Amazon Q Developer, which can start interacting with you on your project by giving you coding recommendations. So Amazon Q for Developer also has direct integration with IAM, right? So it has an IAM Identity Center integration, so you can actually integrate. I will show that in a moment. Let me just flash our desktop now. Give me one moment. Okay, perfect. Going all the way here, you can see that Amazon Q for Developer has a different, I would say, IAM policy permission set, which you can actually add. All these are different policies which you can basically add whenever you are allowing or authorizing employees in your organization to use Amazon Q. It's readily available in the AWS documentation. You just have to go to the Amazon Q Developer AWS documentation, which talks about the permissions, which talks about all the different permissions which you as an IAM admin can provide to your users. Right? You can see there are different identity-based policy examples already available on AWS documentation. You can as well open your browser, bookmark it once if you need, because it will definitely come handy when you're configuring Amazon Q. With that in mind, let's move on to architecting solutions and also team collaboration, which is another feature of Amazon Q. It will help you explore the AWS capabilities, right? So you don't have to spend time, going through all the different documentations, especially when you are creating your infrastructure as code. You don't have to spend time going to CloudFormation documentation, getting the key value pair needed to create your CloudFormation YAML for your resources. You can take the help of Amazon Q. Just tell Amazon Q what you need, and it'll automatically create the entire CDK project for you or entire CloudFormation stack for you, so that you can spend less time in thinking about it and more time in creating your business logic for your application. Right? Looking into code generation and analysis, let's do one thing. Let's quickly jump into our VS Code and let's see what do we have here. Right? So this is my IDE. I hope the font size is okay so far. This is my IDE, and I have my Amazon Q, which is basically readily available here, right? So this is my Amazon Q, which you can, of course, you can move that into different places. I've just moved it on my right-hand side because I feel that's handy. So here is Amazon Q. What do you need if you want to work with Amazon Q? You need a builder ID, right? So Amazon Q actually has 2 different pricing plans. You have the free plan, for which you just need a builder ID, and you have the pro plan, for which, again, you need a builder ID, and sometimes you also can integrate with your IAM Identity Center so that you can integrate with your organization's SSO, which is already there. So let's say I have a builder ID. Let's basically use it with free, and then basically click continue. It's going to authenticate us on the browser. It's going to let us log in on builder ID. So I have already logged in. I'm just allowing access. Once I allow access, you can see it's going back. Again, here I can get the Amazon Q up and running. So I'm just going to quickly open up Amazon Q. and just put this on this side. Yeah, perfect. So I have the Amazon queue up and running, and here I can start asking questions, right? So queue definitely helps you when you are working with your workloads. You don't have to do, as I already mentioned, you don't have to spend a lot of time in creating the code from scratch. It will help you, especially AWS-specific resources, AWS-specific code, you can basically get Amazon queue to generate, right? It helps you with your upgrades, right? For example, you want to upgrade from Java 8 to Java 17. You have a legacy application which is already on Java 8, 1.8, and you want to upgrade to 17. You don't have to do it. You can just make use of 4 different commands. Let's go back here. Going back to the 4 different commands. All these 4 different commands are readily available here on the AWS blog. It's a very nice blog which talks about all the 4 new commands which have come out. So you can see, let me just increase the font size. You can see you have these 4 new commands. That is basically your dev, your test, review, and your doc. Right? You also have the transform command, which will help you transform or migrate your applications into newer versions of runtimes. All you need to do is just ask it on the chat. Right? So you have a chat interface like this, what we have here on VS Code. It's going to the chat interface and ask prompted with questions, and it'll definitely generate you recommendations. We will see a thorough demo of it. Don't worry, we will look into a demo of it on how we can work with all of these different features in the upcoming slides. So setting up Amazon Q. So all you need to do is you need to install the Amazon Q extension in VS Code. If you already have your laptop in hand, you can also do it with me because we have time. We have a lot of time. We can also set it up for you. So all you need to do is open up VS Code and go all the way to extensions. Here is my extensions tab here. Here it is, extensions. I'm just highlighting on my screen. Extensions, you go all the way to extensions. Not a screen. Oh, sorry. Okay, you go all the way to extensions on VS Code. Once you go to extensions, you just type Amazon Q here, Amazon Q, and you can just install that extension if you want, right? So once you install that extension, it will then prompt you to log in with Builder ID. Also, you can log in or sign in with Builder ID and then make sure that you interact with the chat. Right? You can interact with it on the chat, or if you already have some project, you can open the project folder, and Amazon Q will understand what's happening in the project. It will start giving you recommendations. We will look at all the recommendations in a moment. We will look at how you can work with that in a moment. All you need is make sure that you have the extension up and running. Once you have the extension up and running, you can basically have the IAM account. If you already have the AWS I would say AWS account, and then you need to have an IAM user account in IAM. You can basically configure that to work with Amazon Q, especially when you are working on your VS Code. Going back to your VS Code, how do you know whether Amazon Q is on or up and running? You can see these 2 different icons. I think the screen is visible now. So you can see these 2 different icons. So one is basically to select your AWS profile. You can click on it, and these are the different AWS profile I have. You can select any one of them. So make sure you select the AWS profile, which is also connected to the AWS account to which you are basically working with Amazon Q, and the Amazon Q, I would say Amazon Q toolkit extension here, right? So you can click on the button and it's going to give you all the different actions which Amazon Q can help you with, right? So look at all these are the different actions it can help you with. As of now, it's on because you can see pause. It says pause auto suggestion. It's basically currently running. If you click on it, it's now basically paused, right? So it's currently paused. You can click on it again, resume. So now it's running. Amazon Q is running in the background. So you just basically can make use of it, right? You need to create a builder ID if you don't have one. If you want to use Amazon Q, just go to Builder ID, create a new Builder ID on an email ID, and then it'll give you a verification code, verify that email, and then make sure you log in. Once you log in, you will be able to log in on the IDE. It will basically give you access to log in on the IDE so that you can interact with VS Code, right? So the same steps, what I just showed. need to go to VS Code, go to Extension Marketplace, search for Amazon Q, click Install on Amazon Q extension, and then verify the installation in the activity bar. Once it's installed, you can then look at Amazon Q on your IDE so that you can start interacting with it. Are you all with me so far? I'm very used to WebEx and Zoom these days. Give me a smiley face or a thumbs up if you are. Perfect. Thank you. So this is the profile. You can select the profile. On VS Code, you can basically select what AWS profile you want to use, so that this AWS profile is giving it a connection, so that whenever you run Amazon Q, it knows which account it should build, or which account, all your permissions are provided. So you can make sure that you connect your AWS account, and once you connect it, you can basically start working with it, right? You can start interacting with Amazon Q there. So if you want to look at the process of creating a builder ID, so I'm just going back all the way. Let's go back to builder ID. I have already logged in. Okay. You can use any email ID which you can basically have access to, and then basically log into your builder ID account. So let's go to AWS build. Let's do one thing. Let's go back to VS Code, and let me just click on sign out. Now I click on sign in to get started. Use for free. Continue, and it goes to open. It goes to the builder ID, right? So let me do one thing. Let's go all the way here, and then let's try to first of all deny access once, and let's go to builder ID. Give me one moment. You can create your builder ID. You can basically go to builder ID profile and then start navigate to that and navigate to the sign up page of it, and then start creating your builder ID. So I have already have access because I can see that I'm already logged in. You can sign out, and let's sign in once again. I'm using my Amazon.com retail ID itself as my builder ID because I am using a single email for all of it. So let's log in with this. Once we log in, we go back to Amazon Q, and then on the VS Code IDE, we go back to Amazon Q, and then again, let's try signing in again. Let's try signing in again, open, and then let's provide allow access here. Now let's see how we can interact with Amazon Q Developer on VS Code, right? So we will see how you can use the chat interface, how we can send code to the prompt, asking for explanations and optimizations, how we can implement all the suggestions it provides, right? So this is on our VS Code. You can see on VS Code, you can select a particular snippet of code, and you can ask it to explain. It will explain you with basically telling you what the code is actually doing. This is very good if you have freshers joining the organizations and you want to onboard them. Sometimes, if the documentation is not enough, you can basically make use of, and they can make use of Amazon Q, and then click on a particular code snippet, and then tell it to explain, so that it can start explaining about the entire code snippet there, right? You can also make use of Amazon Q for security vulnerability identification, right? You can ask for code explanation, understand unfamiliar code or libraries, and also receive context and best practices based on the code that is already available on your IDE. You can also ask Amazon Q to optimize your code. So let's say you have a code which is probably a legacy application, which has code which is looking like a spaghetti version of code because it's an old application, and you want Amazon Q to optimize it. You just select the snippet, and then let it optimize. It will basically break the code into pieces, into different functions, and start calling those functions in the same process in which the code was even created in the first place. You can get explanations to understand the rational decision taken behind that particular piece of code there. You can also see that whenever it suggests things, you can see that it'll give you multiple options. You can take one of the options, right? So you can accept one or two different options, and then make use of that particular coding suggestion which is provided. So let's see. Let's go back to our VS Code. I hope everything is visible. Let me just for a moment just increase the font size there. Yep. So let's start with this one. Okay. So let's start with the chat version of it. So let's say provide a cloud formation template, because it's very useful. Because it already works with the data present in the AWS documentation. Provide a cloud formation template which creates, let's say, two EC2 instances behind load balancer and an auto scaling group. Okay. Create the necessary VPC, NAT gateways, subnets, right? Subnets. Don't worry, even if there is spelling mistake, you'll understand, right? Route tables, right? Create internet gateway, right? So also make sure that you create the security groups allowing traffic on port 80 and port 22. What else? Let's also add, what else? Yeah, let's also add two EBS volumes, right? And one S3 bucket and one DynamoDB table, right? So it's going to understand what query we need, and it's going to give you an entire cloud formation template, which will be easily around some hundreds and hundreds of lines. You can copy all the entire template and then put it on your new YAML file, and then check whether all of the different cloud formation resources are basically the one which you need, and then start using it by basically uploading it to CloudFormation. It'll create all the different necessary resources needed for you on your AWS account. Right? So that's the power of this GenAI tool with when you are using Amazon Q. So this is Amazon Q, which is helping you on the chat, right? So now also what we will do is open a new window, and let's open up a project here. What you're seeing here is a simple MVC project. It's a simple model view controller based project on PHP. It's based on a framework called Laravel. And we just have a simple MVC project, and we have all these different resources on this project. Right? What we will do now is, let's say I'm just going to open up the routes. In the routes, I have some authentication routes. All these are authentication routes, different pages for login, registration, sign up, verify password, forgot password, etc. I want to understand what's happening here, right? So what I will do, I can open up Command Shift I, let me open up the debugging window. Let's open up here. Let's open up the command palette. Yep. And then let's go for inline chat. Here I'm just going to mention, please create the documentation or add comments to this file so that I can understand what's happening. And you can see Amazon Q is generating. So you can see this, that it's generating with all the different, look at this, importing the necessary comments. So all these are the entire code which it is generating. And what you can do is, you can see that after it generates all of it, it will basically allow you to accept or reject, right? So once it is done, you can basically click on one of it, accept or reject. If you accept it, it's going to put this entire code, and you can see that it's going to give you all this code, again rewritten with the necessary documentation on top of it. Right? When I say documentation, it's just the comments which is already written on top of it, so that we can understand what's happening on this piece of code. Now let's come back and let's also open up a new terminal. So here on the terminal, I'm just going all the way to my new project, which is the same project, which is actually open up here, the new project here. And what's happening in this new project is a simple API project, nothing much. It's just having a simple API where I'm just creating a few routes to log in and register users. And then let's say I want to create a new model. Okay, so in MVC, I want to create a new model, view controller, and I want to do it for a simple model that's products, right? So let's say I want to implement a products feature inside my project. So I can, let's say, go to Laravel, let's say create, make, okay, Laravel PHP artisan, PHP artisan, make model. So make model and make sure that you create the necessary controller, factory, seeders, API, test cases, request, response, and policies. Okay, this is just a CLI command of the framework, nothing to do with Amazon Q. But you can see here, whenever I type, Amazon Q is giving you autocomplete. Do you see the autocomplete there? Amazon Q is also giving you the autocomplete. Even this is also possible when you are installing Amazon Q. You can install Amazon Q also, Amazon Q for desktop, where you can basically have recommendations or auto-completions on your terminal. Amazon Q can autocomplete your command on terminal, and let's say, let's go for this. It basically created all the necessary seeders, models, controllers, routes, policies, requests, seeders, and factories, right? It created all these files here, and here are all those files. I have this project, let's refresh, and I have this particular project file. So on my new project, so let's open up the new project here, and let's go all the way to seeders. I have the product seeder, I have the products factory, I have some scaffolded, I would say, controllers. So here I have my controller, which is basically allowing me to write my logic here. So let's say I'm just going to create a new migration. So let's go for create a new migration, artisan, make migration. Okay, so let's create a new migration. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's create a new migration here. Let's do it for products. So I'm just going to call it as products table. Just to make sure that we save on time, I'm just going to remove all of these and then basically tell Amazon Q what I want, right? So I'm going to mention here on the command, I'm just going to mention create a schema which will accept name as string, model and make as string, and a price as int, okay? We will do it as an int, and later we will basically divide by 100 later, right? So here you can see, can you see this one? This is basically giving you autocomplete. So that is basically Amazon Q providing you code suggestions. So it's going to give you all the code suggestions line by line by understanding what you need here, right? So understanding this entire comment can give you the code suggestion there. Perfect. Let's look into optimizing our code. You select a particular code snippet for optimization, and you can right-click and then say optimize, which will basically optimize your code. You can also review and implement your code, right? So let me just open up a code which is having a lot of different CDK constructs. Let's open up a new window. Let's open up a new code here. Let's go all the way to our code. And let's go to dev here. Code formations, samples. Let's open up some code here. Let's go. Okay, let's open up this one. This is a CDK project. What you're seeing here is a CDK project which is written in TypeScript, and you can see all of these different CDK constructs which is written. And what's happening here is we are basically creating a VPC. Scroll to the top. We are creating a VPC, and then we are creating a cluster on top of the VPC. We are creating some secrets using Secrets Manager, and we are storing all the secrets in Secrets Manager. And then later, if you scroll down, we are basically creating a database. That's an Aurora MySQL database that we are creating on CDK. And we are basically calling that database as WordPress. With that, we are also creating a security group for our file system, and then we are creating the file system needed for the WordPress blog. Then we are creating a task execution role, and also we are creating a task definition. Inside the task definition, I'm just mentioning that let's create a new task definition with the family of WordPress and execution role of the task execution role. And here I'm mentioning the environment variables, which are all the secrets coming from Secrets Manager, right? So you can make use of course, you can make use of Amazon Q, right click, and then basically make use of Amazon Q there, and then click on optimize, which will look if there is any optimization even needed, and then it will help you optimize the code. So let's say if you want to explain the selected code, let's say explain the selected code, then it's going to generate an answer on what's happening in the entire code. So all of that is possible using Amazon Q. You just need to install that extension once. Make sure that you configure the necessary builder ID, and then once you configure the builder ID, you can see Amazon Q, especially mentioning you what's happening on this entire code, so this entire setup there, right? Hope you're all with me so far. Yes? Yes? Okay, perfect. Nice. Thank you very much. Let's move on to the next section where we talk about transforming Java code. So take a legacy application, legacy Java 1.8 application, and then migrating it into a new version so that it can run on the new runtime, new Java runtime. How can we do that? So I already have, just to make sure that we save on time, I already have I would say I already have a video which we can flash it across. Give me one moment. Now the video. What you're seeing here is is a CRUD application written in Java, and it's on 1.8, Java 1.8, right? So it's a CRUD application written on Java 1.8. A special thanks to the ProServe team in Sydney who basically created this entire demo so that we can showcase it today for the session. They are basically creating a CRUD application on 1.8. We are making use of Amazon Q for developer to basically upgrade the entire runtime. So here they are using the JetBrains IDE, IntelliJ IDE, and they are basically using the command /transform. /transform is basically going to transform your code. So now in this case, let's scroll a little further. Let's go a little further, and then let's click on start a new transformation. So you can see here, it's basically looking at the entire, all the different folder structure and all the different files in that project. And it's going to confirm you whether you want to update to a newer version of runtime. You can select what version of runtime, and it's going to take easily 10 to 11 minutes. But it will do all the transformations for you, also making sure it will get the updated dependencies from Maven or Gradle, whatever package manager you're using. It'll get the upgrade dependencies of that particular runtime, do the transformation, and then after the transformation is done, it'll ask you, hey, this is what I did. Do you accept it, right? Good thing is, because this is a project which is already Git version, so you can look at the difference between before transformation and after transformation. You can look at all the difference that's happening here. So let's move on a little bit further, and then let's look at this one. So this is where Amazon Q is basically telling that I transformed, or I changed all these different lines of code and migrated to a newer version of runtime. You can do this in minutes, and we have had customers who have migrated hundreds and hundreds of applications from older versions of Java into the newer runtimes of Java with the help of Amazon Q developer, right? So you can spend time in building new applications and also building new functionality instead of spending time in going back to the new and old versions of different runtime and looking at the documentation and spending time creating that. So that what we saw is a simple example of how you can basically transform it. Once transformed, what they're doing is they are changing the environment variables and changing the, I would say, path, so that they take the newer version of Java and then set the JDK, JRE to the new version of the runtime, and then start using that. Right? So you can make use of Java 8 Maven Pro tier subscription. Right? You can also use Java 8 Project Ready for transformation. You can also use VS Code if you want to use VS Code instead of IntelliJ. You can use, it's just two different IDEs. You can use any one of the IDEs to basically transform your code there. Right? You can also click on the Developer Tools tab, and then once you click on the Developers Tools tab, you can click on Transform, which is equivalent to also typing Transform on the Amazon Q chat interface. Right? It can, it can help you transform entire code to the newer versions of runtime. Okay? So multiple choice on process steps. It'll ask you what type of runtime you want to use for the new version. It'll ask you a few different questions, before the transformation is starting, right? So that's exactly the same thing what we saw. And then we have implementing new features. We have implementing new features with Amazon Q. Right? So let's say I have some piece of code. This is a piece of code where I want to implement some new features, right? I have a project and I want to see what the code is all about. I want Amazon Q to basically explain the code and also make sure that it can optimize. You can make use of the best practices for feature implementation using Q. Okay, it can integrate changes incrementally. It can also help you tests. You don't have to write test cases from scratch. You can let Amazon Q developer point to a particular project and go to Amazon Q chat and then mention /test. It can create all the test cases needed for that particular project for you. Right? And more than all of it, right? More than all of it, you can also use Amazon Q to create or to scan your code for security vulnerabilities, right? I think that slide is not mentioned here, but let's go back here and let's move on to the security vulnerabilities, because that's one of the important things which I really wanted to showcase today. I'm opening a folder here which already has the security vulnerable code, right? This is a vulnerable code snippets. All these are vulnerable code snippets in different programming languages. There's a nice GitHub repository by one, I would say, by one developer who has basically collated all the different vulnerable code snippets, right, in different languages. You can find it on GitHub. Right? It's called Yes We Hack /vulnerable code snippets. Go there, and then all these are Twitter vulnerable snippets, and you can clone it. I have already cloned it, and I have the entire folder here with all the different code snippets in different programming languages. I can click on Amazon Q and then just let Amazon Q do a full project scan, right? So you can do a full project scan here, which will basically scan your entire project, okay, for security vulnerabilities. You can do a security scan on that. So let's do one thing. Let's go all the way here, and then let's move on to security scan. Right? So it will scan your entire project. So let's do one thing. Let's close this a bit. Okay, open the chat panel. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's open up one file. Let's open some file here. Let's open up some file here. This is some PHP file here. Amazon Q. Let's go to Amazon Q, and then let's try to do a security scan on this one. So if you actually put /, it's giving you all the different options available. You can click on review, which will help you identify the code fixes, review this file, review this entire file, and then review the entire workspace. Let's review the entire workspace. And it's going to open up a window where it's going to review all the different files in the workspace. After the review is done, you can see that it's going to tell you all the different critical vulnerable exposures or CVEs found in that piece of code or in this entire project. It's going to take a while, but once the review is done, you can see all the different CVEs. The good part is, once the review is done, it can also point you to what the CVE is. Click on it, it will take you to a AWS documentation page, which is talking about the best practice to follow to remediate the CVE, or the recommendation which you can take to remediate the CVE. So you can look at all of that features in Amazon Q here. Look at this one, critical 9 issues. Look at this one, critical 9 issues, 50 high issues and 10 medium issues. Let's take one of it. So these are the code issues which we have found here. So let's close this and let's look at all these are the code issues which we have found. So cross-site XSS attacks. So there is a CVE here for XSS attacks, right? So you can click on how you can generate a fix. It can basically generate a fix for it. Let me just zoom out a bit. It can basically show you what is the fix, what is the CVE all about, right? And it can also tell you, here is the code fix, suggested code fix, which you can implement in order to avoid such a CVE issue on your code, right? All good so far? Yes? Liking it so far? Yes? Thank you. Perfect. With that in mind, let's move on and let's see how we can make use of how we can also make use of Amazon Q by implementing a RESTful API and sending a feature request for it to create that RESTful API for us. So in this case, what we do, we are now again going back to our VS Code, and then let's open up our CDK project. I'm just going to open a CDK project here. So let's open a CDK project. It's a plain project. There's nothing in the CDK project. So if you go all the way to my API gateway project, so here is a CDK TypeScript project. So what is there in this project? Nothing. If you see here, this project has nothing created, right? No resources created yet. Right? So what we will do is let's create it here. Right? So let's add here. So let's create a new API gateway, or let's create a new API gateway with a Lambda function which can act as a to-do API. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let's add this entire thing because I don't have enough space here. I'm just going to cut this, and I'm going to open up the Amazon Q chat. I'm just going to mention here, create a new API gateway with Lambda function, which can act as a to-do API using. Also make sure that you provide what type of option you want. I want TypeScript. I want CDK TypeScript, right? So let's say CDK TypeScript here. So of course, as usual, it's going to generate this entire response with all the different CDK constructs which you want to import in your project, and also how you can. It's also going to create a Lambda function which you can basically put so that you can implement all the different REST methods for this to-do application. And it also create all the different package JSON dependencies which you need to add, and then run, and also tell you how to run this, right? So let's copy this entire CDK project here. Let's copy this entire thing, copy and paste it here. Here it is. You can also do one thing. If you don't want to copy paste, you can also click insert at cursor. So you can basically place your cursor somewhere and insert the cursor. It's going to insert the same snippet there, right? So this is your entire Lambda function, API gateway, to-do resource with all the. So how nice, right? To-do get, post, put, delete. Such nice code which is easy to read, unlike unlike old spaghetti code. So this is the entire code there, which is already created. And what we also have to do is to create a Lambda function. So copy this again. Let's scroll down and let's copy this entire piece of code, lib lambda index ts. So I'm going to copy this entire thing, come back to our folder, lib lambda index ts. So which means I need a Lambda folder here. Inside that, I need index.ts, which is the main Lambda file, right? So I'm just going to copy this entire copy this entire code and then paste it here, right? This is the Lambda function. This is also writing this in TypeScript. Look at this. It has interfaces, and it's also writing this entire thing in TypeScript. Even the Lambda function is written using TypeScript. So with all of these different, I would say, routes and methods, you have this entire file up and running, right? Wrapping up, so we have few links and resources for AWS certification, right? If at all you are, if at all you are looking for preparing for an AWS certification, right? Here goes. You can actually make use of Amazon Q also for you to help you prepare for the certification. It's just a simple trick here. You come all the way to Amazon Q itself. Let's say come back to all the way to Amazon Q, and then you just ask it a few questions. Let's say I have an question here, right? So I have an exam sample question. So for example, let's go all the way to our AWS certification exams. Go all the way to prepare for your exam. Let's choose one sample exam paper. Let's scroll down. Let's just choose something. Let's choose the solutions architect. Scroll down and let's choose the exam guide. And then let's scroll to one of these sample question paper set. I think there should be one of it somewhere here. Basically, you just interact with the queue chat here because it already has the data from AWS documentation. You take a sample question paper or question itself, put it there, and then let it explain. Give the option and tell it choose the right answer and explain me why that was the right answer, and that will help you also in your preparation. Right? Apart from all of these, of course, if you want to get ready for your exam, you also make sure that you have a Skill Builder account, and Skill Builder will basically give you all the access to different codes, videos, and snippets, and also resources, and even labs, which can help you prepare for the exam. Right? You can also use Amazon Q for your IAC assistant to integrate or to basically help you assist infrastructure as code. You can use Q for compliance and security best practices, for cost optimization suggestions. You can ask it, this is the CDK, what do you think is the pricing if I deploy all these resources on my AWS account? You can ask that to Amazon Q on the chat, and it'll basically give you the recommendation for that. We will have upcoming features and enhancements. Also, you can see that we will have expanded language and framework support, integration with additional development tools that's upcoming. And if at all you want to get ready for your AWS certification, of course, you can select a topic and watch all the different boot camps and spotlight labs out there, and make sure that you start learning from Skill Builder. Right? And I think this is a simple voucher. Claim your voucher. If you want to validate your AWS certification, you can use this voucher for 50% off on any AWS certification exam. And that's what we had for today. Please make sure that you complete the session survey in the mobile app. Your every feedback matters to me, because that's our bread and butter, if you ask me, because your survey will give us a feedback on how is the session. Was the session valuable to you? Was it giving you valuable insights so that you can implement this after you go back to your office? So all of that is very valuable to us. Make sure you fill the feedback form, and thank you very much. Have a good day.